Hi everyone, Carla here, and I'm back with a new video. When I first moved to Korea, I found it really difficult to make Korean friends, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. If you are thinking about teaching in Korea or living in Korea, or if you already live in Korea, in this video, I'll tell you 4 tried and true ways that you can make Korean friends. My first tip would be to join a tour group. There are a few different kinds of tour groups in Korea, and they're actually pretty popular with both foreigners and Koreans. The first one is called Seoul Hiking Group, and they go all around Korea to the wondrous mountains and hike them, and that's just their thing. I think they have like weekly hikes, they do day hikes, they do nighttime hikes. It's just really fun, and I've actually been on one of their trips. It was the best and only hiking experience of my life, so I would definitely do it again because I did actually meet a few people. There are also a number of festivals in Korea, especially during the spring when the weather warms up. There are some outings such as I know there's a mud festival, but I can't remember where it is, but it's like a mud festival and you get to play in the mud, and by the end you're all muddy from head to toe. It's kind of crazy, but I think both foreigners and Koreans go to that, and there are groups that will take you from Seoul to the location by bus. Foreigners as well as Koreans sign up for this, so this is another chance to meet Korean people. If you're interested in these tour groups, I'll link them down in the description box below. My second tip is to meet Korean people through language exchange. This is probably the most popular option, and it's actually how I met a lot of Koreans in New York when I was in college. My friend and I would go on this website called conversationexchange.com, and we'd kind of talk to different Korean people looking to improve their English, and we were also looking to improve our Korean since we were in Korean class. And we met quite a few people through that website, and when I went to Korea, I was able to stay in touch with those people as well. In Korea, there are a few options to choose from for language exchange. First, there's a bar meetup, and at this meetup it's kind of informal, it's not exactly like studying. What you do is you sign up and I think you pay 5,000 won, which is $5, to get into the bar or restaurant that it's being held at, and you get a free drink, and of course you can order more if you want, but it's just kind of an introductory drink, and you get to it's really like a meet and greet at a bar or a restaurant. It's kind of fun. I've done it quite a few times when I first moved to Korea, and you get to meet different people and people who like doing the same things as you, and it's just very fun. The other option for language exchange is a more formal language exchange group. So it's you meet in a cafe and you actually take out your books to study, or you speak in Korean and the other person speaks in English to you, and you kind of correct each other's sentences. These kind of meetups are for people who actually want to study. You can also be friends with your study partner, so that's a great way to meet Korean friends if you're not into drinking or clubbing or whatever. My third tip is to meet Korean friends through language exchange apps. So my last point was about meeting people in person through language exchange meetups. This tip is about meeting people through language exchange apps. So there are a few phone apps that you can download. And it's kind of you have a pen pal. You ask them for help with Korean and they ask you for help with English or whichever language you speak. You can either be pen pals or you can decide to meet up. The most popular apps that I know of that a lot of people in Korea use are HelloTalk, italki, and Tandem. And once you download them, you'll see that there's tons of people who want to practice their English, so it shouldn't be too hard to find someone to pair up with. But one extra note, you really do have to be careful because some people on those apps are not really looking for just friendship or just language exchange. Some people are like, you know, into like weird stuff, or, you know, they're looking for like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So just be wary of those people. If that's not what you're looking for, then be wary of those people. But if that's what you're like looking for, then okay, I guess that's good for you. But yeah, like just be careful. You really have to let people know like this is just for like language exchange, if that's, you know, what you want or whatever. But it's just like any online thing. Like you have to be careful anywhere online. So use your common sense and your judgment. My fourth and last tip is to just talk to people in the places that you frequent. For example, when I first moved to Korea, I lived in Suwon in a market area, and there was this like kind of small grocery store across the street from my apartment. I would go there almost every day. And with my very limited Korean, I would talk to like the ladies that worked there, and you know, they knew me every time I walked in. So it was kind of, you know, it felt kind of nice to know people in my area, especially since I was like alone for the first few months of me getting to Korea. Just nice to talk to people and like feel social. Another way I met people in my area just by talking to them was like, actually this was my coworker. She went to this cafe and started talking to the cafe owner, and the cafe owner spoke a little bit of English, and you know, me and my coworker spoke a little bit of Korean. So we would like talk to each other, and we actually went there a lot. Actually, I'm still like friends with her on Facebook, and like actually I still follow her on Instagram and like follow what she's doing. So that's another way I made friends, just by talking to people. And then when I moved to Wonju, that's like a little bit further away from Seoul, I started meeting more people in my town. And you know, I guess it could get easier or harder to meet Korean people the further away you go from Seoul. Like in Seoul, you might not meet Korean people just because there's so many like people. Not everyone wants to like mix their friends groups. But once you get away from Seoul, I found it easier to meet Korean people because it was like a tight-knit community. So when I lived in Wonju, there was this bar called What's Up, and some Korean people went there, as well as like a lot of foreigners. So that was a way, like, you know, just to talk with people. And you know, you end up going there maybe once a week, so you see the same people, and eventually you could become friends. There were also a few restaurants in Wonju that were popular amongst both Koreans and foreigners, and they're called Sweet Oak and Andy's Bistro. And like, because I frequented those places, of course you see some of the same people that like the food and that are friends with the owners or whatever, and you just get to meet new people, whether they're Korean or foreigners. So yeah, the moral of the story is just get out there and talk to people. Do it safely in places that you go a lot, or like, you know, if you've seen someone multiple times, go ahead and say hi. Especially if they're Korean and you want to meet Korean friends, that is one of the best ways because you already have something in common. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you found those tips helpful, and if you did, please like this video and go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Well, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.